We begin with the latest developments out of Europe. Terrorist attacks at Brussels International Airport and a nearby subway station have killed dozens and injured more than 100 this morning. Joining us with insight on these deadly and devastating attacks is Seamus Hughes, Deputy Director of the Program on Extremism at George Washington University. Seamus, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, we're just getting word that Islamic State is taking credit for these attacks. What do the attacks tell us about the scale and sophistication of terror cells outside of Syria and Iraq?
I think you're absolutely right. So it is a sophisticated attack. This is organized. It's not something you developed the night before. There's clearly a network that was involved in this. They looked at symbolic attacks and locations. What we're going to see now is how big of the network it is in Belgium.
And Belgian authorities were already on high alert this week following the arrest of Saleh Abdeslam. He's one of the suspected Paris attackers who they just captured after a 4-month manhunt. They had been warning the public that they were continuing to remain on high alert. Is there any indication that this attack was a response to that capture?
I think it's a little bit too early to tell, but I think it's fair to say it's likely that they accelerated their attack planning because of the arrest. There's reporting that he's talking to authorities. I think the cell or the network was probably concerned that they would give up information and be able to prevent the attack.
Right. And why an airport? Why a subway stop? Why are we seeing these attacks on soft targets?
I think exactly why, because it's a soft target. It's an easy way to attack. We're talking about a stop that's in the heart of the capital. It's right next to the EU, NATO headquarters. It's the de facto capital of Europe. And then the attack of the American Airlines kiosk makes entirely sense. These are symbolic attacks.
Right, and when you look at foreign fighters, which is something you study regularly, and we're looking at Europe's border crisis and immigration, what sort of indications do we have that this is tied to, as you said, a very sophisticated network of individuals who are crossing borders, who are working together? They're in Belgium, but where else could they be?
So we have about 7,000 Westerners that have traveled to join groups like ISIS. Belgium has the unfortunate distinction of being the highest per capita of foreign fighters in Europe, so about 500 individuals. And so it's clearly that there's a disproportionate number of people that are drawn to this ideology. And the problem is a number of those individuals are trying to come back.
And you monitor the conversations of some of these individuals. You look at some of the Twitter accounts and social media accounts of radicalized groups and individuals. How are they responding to the attacks this morning?
Yeah, at George Washington University's Program on Extremism, we have a team of researchers who are looking at this all day. So today they've been pulling tweets and particularly ISIS Telegram channels. And what they're saying is they're praising the attacks, they're passing information, they're watching it in real time. No claims of responsibility yet, but they're essentially fanboys, egging other people on to do what happened this morning.
That's terrible to hear, but I mean, understandably, a lot of people here in the U.S. are also nervous. It's not just Europe that's on edge. According to your latest numbers, 84 Americans have been charged with ISIS-related activities. That's since February. How worried should Americans be about the growing threat of terrorism, both overseas and here in the U.S.?
So we had 61 arrests last year, which is unprecedented for the U.S. We normally have about 20 to 30 cases. So we should be concerned about the number of people that are drawn to this ideology, this Islamist ideology. But we should also put it in perspective. So Belgium has 500 foreign fighters. In the U.S., about 250 people have attempted or have traveled to places like Syria and Iraq. It's clearly something we keep an eye on, and it's concerning. The question becomes what level it reaches.
Before I let you go, have you been looking into any possible solutions or any way to address this crisis in terms of reaching out to these groups, or is there anything you're recommending for governments both here and in Europe?
Yeah, I think we're not doing enough on the prevention end, the countering violent extremism end, meaning that before these individuals are drawn to this Islamist ideology, there are markers on the way. There's bystanders that see something concerning, and we're not doing enough to pull them away. Now, there are people that are joined a network. You know, they have guns, they have weapons. They should be arrested and deal with the full force of the law enforcement apparatus. But there's a subset of people that are drawn to this mood music, and we're not doing enough to address those issues.
All right, Seamus Hughes, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.